You want to get the Bible? But you're always winning. Always money.
It's going to be the year, but I'll figure it out eventually. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September 1st meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. If you would please stand, silence your cell phones, and if Bobby Murphy would please come be our Rotarian of the day.
Let's pray. Lord, we just come today asking you to bless this country and bless our town and our city. Watch over us and make decisions that others. Watch over our servicemen as they're serving our country and serving around the world. Bless us food to nourish our bodies and our bodies for your service. Christ, we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, the four-way test of things we think, say, and do. Four.
Well done, Mike.
Four.
Is it fair to allegiance to all concerned?
Third. Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
First.
It is the truth.
And fifth.
Is it time? Oh. Thank you for keeping us on our toes, Bobby. That was awesome. All right, as you sit down, please remember the cart buckets on the table and dump out your cart cups into the bucket if you brought anything with you. William, do we have any prayer requests?
Yeah, we're gonna remember Jimmy, you like.
Really?
He's not going for vote.
Oh, no.
And it's also been Randy, he's not really good.
Okay. Randy Stewart.
Either that or Karen run everybody off the side.
Okay. Not sure. All right. Kristen, I believe you're taking care of guests and raffle today. Nice. Okay. Of course. Wendell, never cooperated. Yes.
We have Dawn Adams, who is from Pettigrew. We have Aaron Powell, who is with Colony Bank. And
All right. And I got 4 all-star people today. I might need to do my thing today. Let's see here. Let me first introduce our students athletes over here. All right, so Rachel, tell them you all.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am a graduate student with college, and I'm on.
Where are you from?
Gwinnett County, I lived in Milledgeville for a long time, but my parents moved to Buckhead, which is in Madison, so pretty close to home.
Rachel just graduated from Flagler College, and you know, with COVID and all that stuff and an injury too, she got 2 years left of school. So she had she graduated undergrad, but she got as she called it, she got a big girl job. I got that big girl job, said, man, this ain't good fun. So I'm gonna go back to grad school. And she's gonna be an educator. We're glad to have her. And we had a fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. Emily, tell us who you are.
I'm Emily Hall. I'm a senior on the Wild team, and I'm from North Carolina.
Yes, Emily, yes, yes. Emily from Charlotte area. She's not from the country club of Charlotte, she's from the country of Charlotte. Well, I'll tell you that is, she know how to work. Emily's one of the kids, you know, you give her a project, it's done, you know, worry about it. Call her someone one time, help her parent, doing something, you know, run a restaurant, this and the other. She know how to work. Information rate. Exercise science, are you going to advance here or not? You know yet? Not sure. Okay.
Good answer.
We're glad to have both of them today. All right, so thank you. She's an all-star. And, Gretchen, where you at? Okay, introduce yourself. Who you got?
I'm a freshman from Milledgeville Rotary. I've been here for 10 years. Run the program and been really fun being in the community and did the Rotary a few times. So thanks for coming.
Yes. Okay, we got our first home game be next, not Tuesday after Labor Day, the Tuesday after. We're doing this massive tailgate. I'd love to see y'all out there. I want to have 1,000 hot dogs just come out there. If you've never been to a Woods Park yet, Presidents, he got mad at it last time. If you've never been to a volleyball game in college, you will, if you go to one, you will come back. It is the most entertaining athletic sport on our campus. Marcia, you can't say that about one sport. That's what the truth of it. It is the most athletic sport on our campus. If you come once, I promise you, you will come back. All right. And Athena, one more time here. We're going to get inducted next week. We're glad to have Athena. Athena Dere, and she will get inducted. I think Chris, will you tell me that? Next week, yeah. So, all right, thank you.
That it?
That's it.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Lord, half the room belongs to Wendell. Okay.
Two 77480.
480.
48.
Oh, Kyle. Nice. Let's see if we're lucky.
First, see if it's for it.
Nice, all right. 7 clubs. Not happening. All right. Give him this $10. You're welcome. Nice. All right. What community announcements do we have? Do we know what's happening at GMC tonight? What they're doing about the Meet the Bulldogs? Is it still happening? Still happening despite the weather forecast. All right, good deal. So head out to GMC tonight to meet the Bulldogs. Any other community announcements? No? Okay. And whoops. I got it. I'm on it. Thank you. Okay, under club business, you'll see on your tables that there is a bulletin. Thank you very much, Keith, for putting this together for us. So under the new program, as we've explained, this is the only time you will see the bulletin this month. We're doing it once a month. It's got all the information for the month. All the speakers, all the Rotarians of the day, everything is on that one. So you may want to stick it and keep it at your office so you know what's going on all month long. And on that, you'll see just a reminder that on the 5th Thursday of this month, because it's the 5th Thursday, we will be starting our first 5th Thursday social, and that will be at Kristen's home. And our member Kyle from Sacheros is providing the food for the evening. And bring your own bottle, bring your own spouse and children, swimsuits, all of that good stuff. It's going to be a great, great social evening. We're very thankful to Kristen for hosting us.
We sound like you need to sell memberships over here.
Yes, kids can swim. Yeah. We do have a couple of thank you notes. One is from Joshua Craddock, who is the Eagle Scout that Eric was helping us help him. Dear Rotary Club, thank you for donating to my project. It'll help me reach my goal. I'm excited to get started. So, and then we also have a thank you note from the Baldwin County Board of Education. We made a $250 donation to the Partners in Education program that we've been supporting for several years. And we got a nice thank you note from Dr. Price for that. So we're doing good stuff in the community. And then also I want to point out and give a very big warm welcome back to Ashley, who has been sort of on the fringe of the club. She's a very active member for a long time. She took a little hiatus for a couple of years and she's back. Yay! Yay, Ashley. We're glad to have Cool. All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Tamara to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Jennifer. Welcome everyone to September 1st Rotary meeting. We have today a speaker that's joining us from Atlanta. She is here to speak and raise awareness on the subject of human trafficking. And she is a victims advocate and operations manager of Rescue Hope. Please welcome Crystal Burdett. Hi, thank you for having me here today. What I'd like to do is spend a few minutes giving you guys an overview about the issue of sex trafficking. And then I want to tell you about the Rotary grant that we've gotten and how we can partner together and talk about what you guys can do to help in this fight. So let me give you sort of the who, what, when, where, why of sex trafficking. So what is sex trafficking? It's when there's a commercial sex act that is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or the person who is induced to perform a sex act is under 18 years of age. So if it's a minor, it doesn't matter if they willingly did it, they are considered a victim of sex trafficking. So why are people doing sex trafficking? Well, it is a high reward, low risk in industry. Let me explain that a little bit. So high reward, it's $150 billion a year globally. Now, this is what is estimated by Homeland Security. It is high reward because, think about it this way, this is a non-consumable product. So if you are a drug dealer and you have your drugs and you sell to you, well, then I'm out and I have to go back and buy some more. But if I am selling a person, I can sell that person to you, and then turn around and sell that person again to you, and over and over and over again. So I don't have to buy more inventory. So low risk, because this is a person that I am selling, and a person is not an illegal substance. So if I am a drug dealer and I have drugs in my car and I am stopped for speeding, if that officer decides to search my car and he finds the drug, I'm going to go to jail. But if I am a sex trafficker and I have victims in my car and I'm stopped for speeding, and the officer searches my car and he finds people in my car, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. I'm going to go on my way, unless the victims say, help me, we're victims, which almost never happens. So it's low risk. So who are traffickers? It could literally be anybody, but what I'd like for you to do is sort of get a mental image in your head of what you think a trafficker is. What does he look like? What's his background? Where does he come from? Just get that image in your head. Someone did a study a couple of years ago looking at 7 years worth of federal prosecutions of sex traffickers. And they looked at the demographics. And of those, the sex trafficker profile was 60% were white males. Of those, 80% were high school graduates. 18% had college degrees. 94% were US citizens. And 70% had no felony convictions. So I want you to, that image that you had in your head, take that and throw it out. And then the image that I just put in your head, take that and throw it out too. Because a trafficker can be literally anybody. It can be a gang member, a street thug. It can be a member of the clergy. It can be an elected official. It can be a family member. It can be a peer. It can be someone who goes to school with your child. It can be anybody. And so one of the things that we tell parents is to talk to their kids, not about stranger danger, but about safe and unsafe people. Because a lot of the times, the person that is going to exploit your child is going to be someone they know. So we tell them to talk to their child about safe and unsafe people. not stranger danger. So who are victims? It can be literally anybody. So males and females, we mostly hear about females, but males are victims as well. Any race, doesn't matter the race. Sexual orientation doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. So the only criteria that a sex trafficker has when they're choosing a victim is vulnerability. And they are adeptly skilled at figuring out what your vulnerability is and exploiting it. So when you think about what makes someone vulnerable, obviously, if someone is homeless, yes, that makes them vulnerable. If they have a substance abuse issue, if they are a runaway, if they have history in defects in foster care, if they come from a home where there's domestic violence, yes, all of these things will make a child vulnerable. But also, if a child has a disability, that makes them vulnerable. If the child is overweight, maybe has acne, if they are socially awkward, anything that makes them different, that can make them vulnerable. And as crazy as this sounds, having a close relationship and loving relationship with the parents can make them vulnerable. And let me explain that. Because traffickers, one of their biggest weapons is shame. So they can do something to make the child be compromised, such as sending a nude selfie. And then they will use that against the child and say, if you don't do what I want you to do, you don't come with me and do these things, I'm going to send this picture to your parents. And think about how disappointed they will be in you. They will not love you anymore. And that child, because they have that relationship, will do anything to keep them disappointed with parents. So again, they're looking for vulnerabilities. So where does this happen? Literally everywhere. So yes, it happens in Metro Atlanta, but it also happens in small towns and it happens in rural areas. So in 2019, which is the last year that I have the data for, there were actual child sex trafficking victims were being served in 145 out of 159 counties in Georgia. So those were actual confirmed victims. So you know it was happening in every county. It's happening around. Now, a lot of times when it's rural counties, it's familial trafficking. And it's definitely people who know the victims. It can happen in, you know, what you would think, imagine small motels on the interstate. Yes, yes, it happens at truck stops. It also happens now at rest areas. With the internet, they just post, we're going to be at rest area 275, and people can roll through. It also happens in the penthouse suite at Ritz-Carlton. It happens in multi-million-dollar mansions. It happens everywhere. So how do traffickers take control of their victims? So I mentioned the words force, fraud, and coercion. So force is exactly what you would imagine, where someone kidnaps you. You know, it's a guy in a van that jumps out and grabs you. Or it's somebody who slips something into a drink and takes you. That does happen, but that's usually a very low percentage of the cases. The second way, fraud, this one is very insidious. So a lot of times they will pose as someone with a great job offer. So a modeling gig, they'll approach a girl at the mall. You're very beautiful. We're going to do a fashion show this weekend at the mall. Would you like to join us and be a model? Here's my card. And even if that girl is like, you know, I'm smart, right? So I'm going to check this out. She may get on her phone and check this, this modeling agency out. Fine, they have a website. Okay, they must be legit. So she'll go to that and it turns out it's not legit, right? And she gets taken into the trade. Coercion. This is where they will use ways to take control and manipulate them. Earlier when I talked about using nude photos, they will use those to try to get control of them. They may, you know, threaten either them or someone that they love. So there may be a young girl who they're trying to get control of, and they'll say, listen, either you come and do what we're telling you to do, or we know your little brother is 9 years old and he goes to Main Street Elementary and he gets out of school at 2:25 and he has a Spider-Man book bag. And if you don't do what we say, we're going to go and get him and make him do these things. And so she'll be terrified and do that. There are children who are being trafficked, who are living at home and going to school, and they're still being trafficked. So people oftentimes will say, why do victims stay? Why don't they just leave? Because a study of federal cases showed that only 5% of the victims in these cases were actually physically restrained, either tied to something or locked in a room. And the reason why they don't leave is because of this coercion, this mental manipulation. Victims are, these guys, traffickers, like they could probably teach college psychology. They are extremely savvy. And for the victims, when they're in these situations, for them, there's absolutely no way they can leave. It is as if they are chained to a pole. For them, they cannot leave. So a lot of times you may drive by the motel in your town, you know the one, and you see this girl, and she comes and goes out of this room, and you know what happens in that room. And you see her at the Waffle House, and then you see her at the convenience store, and you see her come and go, and you see her laughing and talking. So you think prostitute. Just because she can come and go does not mean she's free to leave. She is still a victim. In her mind, she is captive. So that's sort of a really high level, tiny bit about sex trafficking. What I want to talk to you about now is what you guys can do to help in this fight. So Rescuing Hope, we're a small organization. We're in Cobb County. We're about 7 years old. We have a staff of 5. And our mission is to enlighten the public about sex trafficking in America, to educate potential victims and first responders, and to empower advocates and survivors. So we work with a small group of adult survivors, helping them put one foot in front of the other when they get out. We have a caseworker who works with them. We put them together with community resources and help them get to a point of self-sufficiency and help. On the other side, for enlightenment and education, we do awareness events. We try to get out in front of as many parents and students as we can to give them information about the dangers and tips on how to stay safe. We do trainings for law enforcement, medical professionals, educators, to give them the information on here's how to recognize a victim and how to help. So we got a grant from the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery and 4 Rotary clubs in District 6900. And we put together this program where we have a folder for Rotary Club members who want to get involved. So if you want to get involved, you can take a folder. So the idea is we've got all the information in here on the different programs that we have. So our board members would probably get mad at me for saying this, but donations are great. We love taking your money. But for me, the most valuable thing you can do is get us in front of people, because I'm not kidding y'all. There are some dead simple things that parents could be doing to keep their kids safe that they don't know. And it's because, we need to get in front of people. We need to give them the information. So what we need is help. And we know that Rotarians are people of action. And that's why we're doing this. We're trying to get into as many clubs as we can and get these folders in your hand and get you to help us get in front of PTAs, churches, other community groups, so that we can get in front of the parents to give them the information. We have a awareness program called Reality Check. 1 hour, we get in front of the parents, give them the information. We have a awareness program called Play It Safe. This is for middle school and high school. And we do this in schools and also with youth groups. So we need you guys to get us in touch with, connect us with schools, youth groups, anybody you can think of where we can get in front of parents and students. For the education piece, training. If you have connections with law enforcement, we have a program called Beneath the Surface. It's an hour and a half. We go in and train law enforcement, not on the codes and statutes about sex trafficking, but we train them on victims and what they're thinking and how they, gone through trauma and how they should interact with them in a way to get them help. This is post-certified. So if the law enforcement goes through this training, they get their credits for taking this. So if you know someone in law enforcement, we need introductions to get this training in their hands. We also have training for medical professionals called Diagnosis Trafficked. We go in and teach nurses, doctors, anybody who works in a hospital or doctor's environment about how to recognize the indicators of a victim, because they don't always look like what you and I would think a victim should look like and act like. And we teach them about what to look for, and then who they should call, what they should do if they suspect someone is a victim. Then we have Sex Trafficking 101. This is for educators, for teachers, administrators, counselors, social workers, anybody who works in the school system, to help them to recognize students who could be in trouble. Either they are being trafficked or they're starting to show signs that they could be being groomed. So we need to get in front of those people. And then we have a program called Unmasked. This is for people who work in human services. So someone like that works for DFACS, or who works for a nonprofit, someone who works at a homeless shelter, about how to recognize victims, and then what they can do to help and who to call. So all of the information on our programs are in here, and there's a letter that outlines all the programs. I have sent Tamara an email that to try to make this dead easy. That's got templates for emails. So if you know someone in law enforcement, copy and paste this, make it your own, change it around. Hi, Bill. Here, I've learned about this organization and this program. I think you should consider it, and you can send it off. And all we're asking for is that you guys give us warm introductions, get someone interested, make an introduction for us, help us get it set up, and then you can move on. So if you're interested, take a folder. If you don't think you'll be able to help us, don't take a folder, because these cost us money, obviously. But take a folder, and then any questions that you have, you can email me. It's just Crystal@Rescuing Hope. Reagan's got some of her cards over here. Reagan@Rescuing Hope. Any questions you have that come up, please give us a call, or anything else. If we have a lot of people after events like this who will say, I have a friend who has a daughter who's, kind of been showing signs. We love taking questions like that too. So just reach out to us with any questions at all. If you have kids in a school, or if you have, if you're a member of a church and you're interested in having us come in and talk to a small group or your child's youth group, we'd love to do that. Just give us a call. And that's it. So do you have any questions?
I do, Crystal.
Yeah.
There's statistics by county in different states on trafficking.
Not that they release to us. Now, you could probably ask someone in your county, and they may give it to you, but not as a total to us, they don't.
Yeah, kind of follow up on that. I was thinking, I'm assuming the larger amount of this happens in your major metropolitan areas, or not, or does this happen in small towns? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
Okay.
happens everywhere.
Okay, all right, yeah.
You were talking about the percentage of males that are the ones who you expect to traffic. What's the percentage of females that do that?
It's a low percentage, but they do, they absolutely do. Like even this year, earlier this year, there was a woman in Evans, Georgia, who was charged with child sex trafficking. It does happen. And a lot of times, so there, a trafficker will a lot of times use one of the victims that has been with him the longest, and then he'll like make her what they call the bottom. I don't know why they call it the bottom, but she will become like the head of all the other victims, and then she will like run them and take care of things, and she'll become like a trafficker for them.
I was reading an article that said in Atlanta, sex trafficking is a $3 million a year industry. And it's partly because the airport in Atlanta is such a large international hub. Can you speak to the truth of that?
Yeah, so it's really hard. I mean, everybody loves statistics and I love statistics, right? But it's really hard to give statistics around trafficking because they don't file tax returns and they don't answer the census, right? So it's hard to know. But the only thing I can tell you is like someone did a study, and this was about like in 2012, that we feel pretty comfortable in giving these stats, that the average trafficker in Atlanta made $32,000 a week with 2 victims. So yeah, they make a good bit of money. And yes, the airport is a big part of that. Anywhere you have like a concentration of people and a concentration of disposable income. So, and a lot of times people think, you know, oh, that trafficking is going on more in the like inner city, and it does happen there, but most of the trafficking in Atlanta happens north of the city. And that's because that's where the money is. So the traffickers take the girls where the money is. Yeah.
Are there any specific signals that victims would know to try to discreetly tell somebody like us in an elevator or whatever that we need to be aware of to help them?
Not really. I mean, I've seen some videos where they've talked about doing things. Most of the time, honestly, the victims will not self-identify. They're just not going to do it. It has to get to the point to where they are really, really desperate, or someone who has been trained and spends a whole lot of time trying to get them out of it, because they will deny that, because they have been so manipulated. They will deny that they are a victim at all. It's really sad. It takes a long time for them to get to the point to where they will accept help to get out.
So, Chris, I would ask then, so I would assume it's very difficult from a policing standpoint to break these things up. What is a typical, if they're not self-identifying, is there undercover, you know what I'm saying? How does this work? How are we attacking this from a law enforcement issue?
It is really difficult, and it depends on the law enforcement department. So their law enforcement often, because victims don't act like what we think victims should act like, they are not recognizing. That's why it's so important that we get in with law enforcement to train them on what to look for. Because there was a study in 2018 that showed that they did a study of survivors that had been out, and 87% of them had been arrested during the time that they were being victimized, and they didn't get help. And 42% of them have been arrested 10 times, and not just for prostitution. They were arrested for other things, but people just did not know that they were victims, so they weren't getting the help that they need. So law enforcement needs to know what to look for. So I have to say, in Marietta, we've just in the past year formed a really good relationship with Cobb County PD and Marietta PD. And we have worked together even just in the last month to help rescue a couple of girls, and 2 guys have gone to jail now. But it really takes time, and it takes a police department who is patient and who wants to get the training and who wants to spend the time to understand and work with the victims. And they have to take the time to interact with the victims and realize the victims probably in the beginning going to say no, and they have to let them go. And then when they see them again, they have to try again and then let them go. And maybe eventually one time they're going to say yes and they'll want the help.
Right.
Yeah.
You said y'all, how many in your organization?
There are 5 of us.
Y'all have volunteers or y'all, it's pretty?
Yes, we do have volunteers.
Okay. And I guess this is just a statement from my standpoint of getting interest in being somebody, et cetera. And it's kind of odd, you know, we're talking about how this is, I guess, a widespread issue. When I write insurance on an exterior corridor hotel, older hotels, sex trafficking is an exclusion on every policy. Now, just about, because it's become such an issue for individuals and for our industry. They just excluded that because they know that's where a lot of that's happening.
Yeah, definitely. And now there are a few hotels right now who are being sued by the previous victims for aiding and abetting. And thank you for allowing us to come down and talk. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Crystal, for coming today and talking to us. In your honor, we will be donating a book to the library. We're going to have to do a Brown Hancock for us for the Rainbow Hunters. And you also get to choose one of these pens that were handmade by one of our members. All right. Thank you to our guests who are here today. I'm just going to say Wendell and his crew.
Yes.
Everyone. Bina, thanks for being here again. You'll be inducted as a new member next week. Dawn Adams will be inducted shortly. Rebecca, thank you for being here today with Greg. Always good to see you. And of course, again, it's good to have Ashley back. And please remember Jimmy and Randy. Our thought for today is never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. All right. Have a good day.